So I'm Alice, and we're around asking people about the La Paz County Sheriff race. And we would like to ask you what your name is and tell us about yourself.
My name is Michelle Kaufman. I worked with the town of Quartzsite for 4 years. I ran the recreation department, three different youth programs in town, the 4-H club, and helped Mike get his campaign off the ground.
Very good. How long have you known Mike?
I've known Mike probably 7 years.
So who do you want to support for the La Paz County Sheriff and why?
I support Mike Roth for sheriff for numerous reasons. One, I agree with his platform. I believe with his constitutional beliefs. I believe we need to get back to constitutional way of law. I've worked with his opponent, not under his opponent, but with his opponent. I have things I just don't agree with there in his lifestyle or work ethics.
Can you be a little specific on some of those things?
Yeah, basically, I've heard the rumors of Ponce. I mean, everyone in town's heard the rumors in Quartzsite about Ponce and his ways with women and young girls. So I kind of knew it. I knew he was married. He has a wife in Yuma. He does carry on as a husband with his wife in Yuma. He goes to church on the weekends with her, supports his two kids there. He does have a 10-year-old with his live-in girlfriend in Quartzsite. So that one's kind of public. Everyone knows, yeah, he has a wife down in Yuma. She's the stepdaughter of another coworker. So everyone knows of that. Everyone knows who he lives with and of that daughter, and they all think the world of that little girl. And then you hear the other stories and you've heard stuff and comments from her. Once I started really looking into Ponce, looking at Facebook posts and whatever, he does have another very public girlfriend that is not afraid to post that they are very much together. I know there's other ones. When I worked at the community center, there's one specific incident. I actually had another incident that I was looking on the cameras for. I had no clue Ponce and one of his officers were in the building that day. I had an issue with someone that had rented the building out and wanted to make sure the building was locked up on time and no one was left in the building. So I got on the cameras, and as I'm searching through camera footage, I see that shortly before the renter got there, a truck pulled up. And I was like, well, what truck is this? Was not Ponce's white pickup truck. So I'm watching, and Ponce and his, at the time, she was the front desk receptionist at the police department. I guess it was technically administrative assistant to the police chief. Barely 21 years old. She was brought in without going through the whole protocol for new hires. They let the current town employees know there's a process and an application process or whatever. Next thing we know, this person was just there. No one was notified that the position was even available. She and he walked into the community center, used some of the exercise equipment, not real touchy feely. I mean, you can tell there was an attraction there. You know, she would brush by him or whatever. Another car pulls up, and it was the CSO, the community service officer. It was a volunteer position. During budget meetings prior to that, very prior, like shortly to that, Ponce kept pushing for that CSO to become a paid full-time position. The community service officers usually been a volunteer position or very part-time position. She was not a U.S. citizen. He kept pushing for that full-time position and hours for her in that budget workshop, which they ended up getting. Couldn't figure out why he was trying so hard to get her on that. So she was there. She's using the exercise equipment, and then one of his higher-ranked officers showed up. That one I'll leave nameless for now, but that officer showed up. It was very obviously that there was a relationship going on with him and the CSO. He is very married, and his wife very involved in our community and would come over from the Phoenix area and volunteer a lot. They sat down, they immediately got off the exercise equipment, and then they were just hanging out in the chairs. The one officer, not Ponce, would sit in the chair and let the CSO massage on him and kiss on him and everything. And Ponce and, which was at the time the front desk assistant, left the building, and they went just off camera together. I believe they were both in the same vehicle. I only saw the one vehicle on camera. And the CSO kept trying to kiss on the other officer. He pointed out the cameras. They walked outside and made out on camera outside on the front cameras. So why our officer didn't know why have outside cameras too, I don't know. Ponce obviously condoned this behavior and knew what was going on. And then it made sense on why he wanted this girl to go full time when it's his buddy's girlfriend. The wife and him obviously did separate or divorce, and he made his relationship with the CSO known. And she was, I don't know, I just know she wasn't in the department anymore. I don't know if she resigned from the department or was let go. I have no idea. I just know she wasn't there no more when their relationship went public. And he got a lot of flack for that. But for Ponce to condone that relationship, knowing that that was a higher ranked officer, knowing that that was a community service officer below him, and to do that, you know, obviously there was more relationship going on company time. I don't agree with that work ethic of that all, or, you know, family morals on that. I do know of another incident with Ponce. There was another town employee that transferred over to the department, was eventually fired from the department. Her and her cousin went round and round. Again, I'll leave those two nameless. The one cousin was very promiscuous and was just blatantly messing around with several different officers at the time, Ponce included. A little love triangle broke out, jealousy broke out. The one employee that got transferred over to the police department told Ponce, basically tried to blackmail Ponce with nude photos, said, look, I have these screenshots of nude photos on my phone that you sent my cousin sent you. And she was shortly fired after that for another reason. And then that one other gal, the cousin, worked for the town too, and then eventually quit.
And so one quick question on the first incident was you said the age of the CSO was 21, but how
Both
old?
girls were just barely 21. They were
Barely 21. And how old was Ponce at that time, would you say?
45. He's the same age as me. Both officers were around that age. I know the other officers right around that age too. But yeah, both, that incident happened within the last 12 months. So he was mid 40s.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. Was there some other incidences that you
Those
were
are the
referring
two
to?
that I know of firsthand. You know, other than hearsay or rumors or other girls coming forth saying whatnot. And he has, you know, several officers. There's another officer in his department that he's well aware of, that while on duty will get called out to a call. My friend, and I was at her house when it happened, had a neighbor, a well-known drug compound out in the Q Mountain Estates. And my friend and her husband had several issues with harassment and theft and some other issues. She was scared, called me over. I was in the house with the kids. She met the officer outside. She met him outside. And instead of taking the report, he looked at the ring on her finger. He asked her if she was married. She said yes. And he said, you know, and the whole time I'm listening through the window, he said, well, I can make you forget all about your husband. I can make you take that ring off of your finger. And, you know, kept making more advances, you know, towards her that way. And she's crying. She's hysterical. She's now scared of this officer and just wants the report made, and nothing got done. He didn't go talk to the other party about the harassment. That just got ignored. The harassment continued. It eventually drove that family out of Quartzsite, out of the state of Arizona. They just finally had enough. And every time they called police, nothing would get done. They couldn't get copies of incident numbers, report numbers, nothing, because they didn't exist. That same officer has done that with employees as well. I was at another event in town when he did that to one of our coworkers, and actually came up behind her and grabbed her and pulled her close to him and made the same comments. Again, married. You know, when I mention it to Ponce, hey, this is what I'm seeing your officer doing. This is what people are saying he's doing. These are what I witnessed. It just gets kind of brushed off. Oh, yeah, I'm sure it was over exaggerated or whatever. It just goes ignored. So you have a police chief that knows these incidences are going on in his department, and he allows them to continue. That's just not who I would want to support for sheriff. I'd like to trust my officers, trust my sheriff, that if I have an issue with a deputy, it's going to be handled. It's not going to be ignored, swept under the rug, or, hidden because your headship is doing the same thing.
Wow. Sorry you had to go through that. Or your friends that had to go through that too.
Yeah, thankfully I didn't personally, but to witness it and, not to feel helpless, not be able to do anything. I did talk to local government, in town hall, town manager, assistant town manager about it, and it just kind of gets blown off. The town manager would avoid me at all costs, wouldn't, make meetings with me, wouldn't show up to them, wouldn't listen to what I had to say. The assistant town manager was my direct supervisor for a while. Yeah, he did listen to things, was a little bit supportive, did check into things until he found out about my support for Roth.
Wow. Did you feel any retaliation or fear because you saw these incidences or experienced this or brought it up at all from
Yes.
aunts?
The one incident that I witnessed on camera down at the community center, I actually did report up to town hall. Said, "Hey, this is on my camera footage. Do you guys want a copy?" No, delete that off of there. No, we don't want to see that. I was friends with that officer on Facebook. I was immediately blocked. So obviously they went and told him. I was immediately blocked by him on Facebook. I ran a youth program, and the chief's daughter was in that after school program. His contact with me kind of got real vague. He would show up to pick her up after I was off the clock, or he would be on the phone, or he'd be busy, to where he couldn't talk to me, when he came in the door, anything like that. It was kind of almost like a shunning. I was just kind of ignored, no longer really accepted. Now they're like, oh, we can't trust her. She's going to speak.
Wow. So do you still work there at the city?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I had had enough. I had been teetering with the idea of moving back to Oklahoma, where my family is, for more family support and my kids and stuff like that. I had been teetering with that idea, and it all came to a head in early July. And I finally had enough, gave them enough notice. I gave them 6 weeks notice, and I moved on September 1st.
Okay. So you're in Oklahoma then right now?
Correct.
Well, I'm sorry that had to happen to you that way. I'm glad you're able to speak about it though.
Yeah, I loved my job. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved my job. I loved my position. I loved what I did. I loved the youth there in town, and that's why I stuck around so long. That's why I did what I did. The fact that I worked in the community center and not directly up in town hall helped. I didn't have to deal with them on a daily basis. I was in my office separated. And I think that had a lot to do with me staying there for 4 years. If I had to work up in town hall or in a close department like that, I would have quit a long time ago.
So did they require you to record or to delete that video, or is that your supervisor, or is there another person that you were under to record it?
They had made the comment, oh, just delete that off there, just leave it. It fell off after 2 weeks. The DVR recycles, and so every 2 weeks, the older stuff falls off. So it eventually fell off there. No one cared to look at it. I didn't think to save it to a flash drive. I just was like, whatever. At that point, I was like, whatever, here we go again. Everything gets ignored. They weren't on the clock at the time it happened. So I was like, well, whatever. If it was on the clock, I probably would have saved it to a flash drive.
Okay, well, is there anything else that you would like to add or to tell people who may be on the fence of voting for Hans over Mike Roth? You would like to tell
I've
them?
known Mike 7 years. I've known his wife just about as long. Both very good people, family oriented people. Bella would come into where I worked when I worked for Pilot all the time and send money to her kids and her family and talk about her kids and her family all the time. Anytime that I've helped Mike with his campaign, he's talking about Bella's kids, just very family oriented people. He does care about his community. Like I said, he supported the 4-H kids any way that he could. And I know he supported, other community events and people in that town and the things he's fought for his community when he didn't have to. And I just feel that means a lot.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate all of that and your candor. We appreciate your time. And is there anything else you'd like to add or say that maybe I didn't have the right question to ask?
Um, I could talk about town government for a minute if you want, about the incident that happened that made me finally have enough, my breaking point.